If I cared enough about the Kyrenians, Theodorus, I would ask you whether there are any rising geometricians or philosophers in that part of the world. But I am more interested in our own Athenian youth, and I would rather know who among them are likely to do well. I observe them as far as I can myself, and I inquire of anyone whom they follow, and I see that a great many of them follow you, in which they are quite right, considering your eminence in geometry and in other ways. Tell me then, if you have met with anyone who is good for anything.
Yes, Socrates, I have become acquainted with one very remarkable Athenian youth, whom I commend to you as well worthy of your attention. If she had been a beauty I should have been afraid to praise her, lest you should suppose that I was in love with her. But she is no beauty, and you must not be offended if I say that she is very like you. For she has a snub nose and projecting eyes, although these features are less marked in her than in you. Seeing, then, that she has no personal attractions, I may freely say, that in all my acquaintance, which is very large, I never knew anyone who was his equal in natural gifts. For she has a quickness of apprehension which is almost unrivaled, and she is exceedingly gentle, and also the most courageous of people. There is a union of qualities in her such as I have never seen in any other, and should scarcely have thought possible. For those who, like her, have quick and ready and retentive wits, have generally also quick tempers. They are ships without ballast, and go darting about, and are mad rather than courageous. And the steadier sort, when they have to face study, prove stupid and cannot remember. Whereas she moves surely and smoothly and successfully in the path of knowledge and inquiry. And she is full of gentleness, flowing on silently like a river of oil. At her age, it is wonderful.
That is good news. Whose child is she?
The name of her father I have forgotten, but the youth herself is the middle one of those who are approaching us. She and her companions have been anointing themselves in the outer court, and now they seem to have finished, and are coming towards us. Look and see whether you know her.
I know the youth, but I do not know her name. She is the daughter of Euphronius the Sunian, who was himself an eminent man, and such another as her daughters, according to your account of her. I believe that he left a considerable fortune.
Theaetetus, Socrates, is her name. But I rather think that the property disappeared in the hands of trustees. Notwithstanding which she is wonderfully liberal.
She must be a fine person. Tell her to come and stand by me.
I will. Come hither, Theaetetus, and stand by Socrates.
By all means, Theaetetus, in order that I may see the reflection of myself in your face, for Theodorus says that we are alike. And yet if each of us held in her hands a lyre, and he said that they were tuned alike, should we at once take his word, or should we ask whether he who said so was or was not a musician? We should ask. And if we found that he was, we should take his word. And if not, not? True. And if this supposed likeness of our faces is a matter of any interest to us, we should inquire whether he who says that we are alike is a painter or not? Certainly we should. And is Theodorus a painter? I never heard that he was. Is he a geometrician? Of course he is, Socrates. And is he an astronomer and calculator and musician, and in general an educated man? I think so. If, then, he remarks on a similarity in our persons, either by way of praise or blame, there is no particular reason why we should attend to him. I should say not. But if he praises the virtue or wisdom which are the mental endowments of either of us, then he who hears the praises will naturally desire to examine him who is praised, and he again should be willing to exhibit himself. Very true, Socrates. Then now is the time, my dear Theaetetus, for me to examine, and for you to exhibit. Since although Theodorus has praised many a citizen and stranger in my hearing, never did I hear him praise anyone as he has been praising you. I am glad to hear it, Socrates. But what if he was only in jest? Nay, Theodorus is not given to jesting. And I cannot allow you to retract your consent on any such pretense as that. If you do, he will have to swear to his words. And we are perfectly sure that no one will be found to impugn him. Do not be shy then, but stand to your word. I suppose I must, if you wish it. In the first place, I should like to ask what you learn of Theodorus, something of geometry, perhaps? Yes. And astronomy and harmony and calculation? I do my best. Yes, and so do I. And my desire is to learn of him, or of anybody who seems to understand these things. And I get on pretty well in general. But there is a little difficulty which I want you and the company to aid me in investigating. Will you answer me a question? Is not learning growing wiser about that which you learn? Of course. And by wisdom the wise are wise? Yes. And is that different in any way from knowledge? What? Wisdom. Are not men wise in that which they know? Certainly they are. Then wisdom and knowledge are the same? Yes. Herein lies the difficulty which I can never solve to my satisfaction. What is knowledge? Can we answer that question? What say you? Which of us will speak first? Whoever misses shall sit down, as at a game of ball, and shall be donkey, as the boys say. He who laughs at his competitors in the game without missing, shall be our king, and shall have the right of putting to us any questions which he pleases. Why is there no reply? I hope, Theodorus, that I am not betrayed into rudeness by my love of conversation? I only want to make us talk and be friendly and sociable.
The reverse of rudeness, Socrates, but I would rather that you would ask one of the young fellows. For the truth is, that I am unused to your game of question and answer, and I am too old to learn. The young will be more suitable, and they will improve more than I shall, for youth is always able to improve. And so having made a beginning with Theaetetus, I would advise you to go on with him and not let him off.
Do you hear, Theaetetus, what Theodorus says? The philosopher, whom you would not like to disobey, and whose word ought to be a command to a young man, bids me interrogate you. Take courage, then, and nobly say what you think that knowledge is. Well, Socrates, I will answer as you and he bid me. And if I make a mistake, you will doubtless correct me. We will, if we can. Then, I think that the sciences which I learned from Theodorus, geometry, and those which you just now mentioned, are knowledge. And I would include the art of the cobbler and other craftsmen. These, each and all of them, are knowledge. Too much, Theaetetus, too much. The nobility and liberality of your nature make you give many and diverse things, when I am asking for one simple thing. What do you mean, Socrates? Perhaps nothing. I will endeavor, however, to explain what I believe to be my meaning. When you speak of cobbling, you mean the art or science of making shoes. Just so. And when you speak of carpentering, you mean the art of making wooden implements? I do. In both cases you define the subject matter of each of the two arts. True. But that, Theaetetus, was not the point of my question. We wanted to know not the subjects, nor yet the number of the arts or sciences, for we were not going to count them, but we wanted to know the nature of knowledge in the abstract. Am I not right? Perfectly right. Let me offer an illustration. Suppose that a person were to ask about some very trivial and obvious thing, for example, what is clay? And we were to reply, that there is a clay of potters, there is a clay of oven makers, there is a clay of brick makers. Would not the answer be ridiculous? Truly. In the first place, there would be an absurdity in assuming that he who asked the question would understand from our answer the nature of clay, merely because we added off the image makers, or of any other workers. How can a man understand the name of anything, when he does not know the nature of it? He cannot. Then he who does not know what science or knowledge is, has no knowledge of the art or science of making shoes. None. Nor of any other science? No. And when a man is asked what science or knowledge is, to give an answer the name of some art or science is ridiculous. For the question is, what is knowledge? And he replies, a knowledge of this or that. True. Moreover, he might answer shortly and simply, but he makes an enormous circuit. For example, when asked about the clay, he might have said simply, that clay is moistened earth. What sort of clay is not to the point? Yes, Socrates, there is no difficulty as you put the question. You mean, if I am not mistaken, something like what occurred to me and to my friend here, your namesake Socrates, in a recent discussion.